pray for the council tonight that you give them wisdom in all their decisions, and just bless them and bless this town, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Alberts.
Here.
Gerba. Bradway.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Maxey.
Here. Presentations and proclamations?
We do. Mitchell. Eric. Tonight, we are pleased to honor one of our own upon the receipt of a certification that he has completed a very strenuous course of study, naming him as a certified floodplain manager. His immediate supervisor is Mitchell Hort, the Community Development Director for Yukon. Mitchell, if you would please read the certification.
Okay, well, basically this is a certification. He went to a week-long school. It's a FEMA academy that the Water Resources Board brought to Oklahoma, and he went through the academy, and at the end he took a test, a 2-hour test, to become a certified floodplain manager. Sorry about that. Floodplain manager. And this is a certificate. It says Oklahoma Floodplain Managers Association certifies that Frederick Blaylock is a CFM, Certified Floodplain Manager, meeting the criteria of OFMA's National Accredited Certified Floodplain Manager Program. And basically gives a certificate number and the date. He has to be applied for this each year and has continued education requirements he has to complete each year. So I'd like to give you this certification, Eric. As well, they give us a pin to give you. So here's a copy of the pin. It says CFM. There we go.
Eric, on behalf of the council, congratulations with your accomplishment and your service to our community. Thank you very much. The next item is the visitors portion of the meeting. This is the opportunity for anyone who has an issue that they would like to take up with the council that is a non-agenda item. It's the opportunity to come forward and speak to the council. If you would come forward at this time, give us your name and talk with us about anything that's on your mind.
Marvin Smith, 1305 Riverworks Drive in Yukon. I laid in front of you a pamphlet about the Canadian County Junior Livestock Show and Sale coming up in 10 days. And the show starts on March the 3rd, which is Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, and the pigs and the cattle show on Monday, and the sale is Tuesday evening, the night of our next council meeting. But if you get out and support the Yukon 4-H and FFA group, it'd be much appreciated. Yukon is known statewide for its achievements and accomplishments over the years, and any support that they could get from the community would be deeply appreciated. Thank you.
I'm an alum of the Yukon FFA program and have been a longtime supporter of the auction. And Marvin, I appreciate your words and the program. Those kids work really hard all year long to raise and take care of those animals, and it's all culminated at that auction. It's tough to get in. It's not a given that you're going to get in, and that's how those kids are able to pay for their projects and their hard work and everything. So it's a very worthwhile project. So if you can support those kids in our community, that is a very worthwhile cause. Thank you very much, Marvin, for talking with us about that. Anyone else have an issue that they'd like to discuss with the council that's not on the agenda? Seeing none at this time, we'll recess as the Yukon City Council, and we will reconvene as the Yukon Municipal Authority. Item 1A on the YMA consent docket. This item is placed on the agenda So the Yukon Municipal Authority, by unanimous consent, can designate those routine items they wish to be approved by one motion. If an item does not meet with the approval of all authority members, that item will be heard in regular order. The city manager recommends a motion to approve A, the minutes of the regular meeting of February the 7th, 2012, and B, the payment of material claims in the amount of $11,114.24. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Maxey,
Yes.
Alberts.
Yes.
Bradway,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
At this time, we'll adjourn as YMA and reconvene as the Yukon City Council. The first item of business is the consent docket. This item is placed on the agenda so the Yukon City Council, by unanimous consent, can designate those routine items they wish to be approved by one motion. If an item does not meet with the approval of all council members, that item will be heard in regular order. The city manager recommends a motion that will approve A, the minutes of the regular meeting of February the 7th, 2012, B, the payment of material claims in the amount of $340,203.15, the payment of invoice 8068 in the amount of $72,640.43 to Triad Design Group for the Piedmont Road, State Highway 4 from Main Street, Oklahoma 66 to Northwest Expressway, State Highway 3 project paid from Oklahoma City Escrow account funds designating, Next item is D, designating the items on the attached list from the Technology Department as surplus and authorizing their sale and donation or trade. And E, setting the date of the next regular council meeting for March the 6th, 2012, 7 p.m. in the council chambers of the Centennial Building, 12 South 5th Street. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
On item C, payment of the invoice on Piedmont Road, State Highway 4 Project North. This is not our first payment, I don't believe.
No, we are just about through with
That's-
this. I think, I'm not sure of the exact balance left in that, for that money, but it's, we're down to the very end of the planning process.
Process. Next question. What's the date of construction when we're going to put in the first shovel?
As I have been told by our engineer and by Gary Ridley, we anticipate bid letting on this project to be in the fourth quarter of 2013, with construction to begin in the first quarter of 2014.
Had that moved from the first quarter on the bid of 13 and construction later on in 13?
I'm not familiar with that, Robbie.
Has that been moved back, Robbie?
I believe just a few months. I don't remember the exact let date. It was sometime in 2013, but as you know, ODOT redoes their 8-year plan every year, and so that's when they have it scheduled.
Okay.
In late 2013.
Can we anticipate any other rollbacks?
I don't believe so.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Just one more thing. On item A in the minutes of the regular meeting, there's actually a minor correction. As wonderful a job as Mr. Bradway did as our mayor, you are our current mayor, Mr. Alberts, and it does show on page 5,
They just
item
can't get
9,
over
it
me.
does show Mr. Bradway as our mayor. So with that correction, I don't know if...
Page 5, where on page 5?
No, of the minutes from our previous meeting.
You able to see it, Doug?
Item 1.
Under item 9, page 5, Mayor Bradway read the minutes of the executive session stating while in executive session, only the items on the agenda were discussed, no action was taken, no votes were cast.
Yeah,
With that,
Will you stipulate to that correction?
yeah, up above, the first sentence, it says Councilmember Bradway, so just an error.
Yeah, clearly it's just a minor oversight.
the amendment has been accepted by Mr. Maxey. Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Alberts.
Yes.
Maxey,
Yes.
Bradway,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Next item is item 2. That'd be the reports of boards, commissions, or city officials. Any reports tonight?
Not this evening.
Thank you, sir. Next item is 3, to consider a request from the Canadian County Cowboy Church, Terry Hill, on behalf of the Yukon Roundup Club to rezone the property at 600 East Main Street from C5 Automotive and Commercial to C3 restricted commercial district as recommended by the Planning Commission. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion?
I do have a question, only because the next item on our agenda is to declare an emergency, and in that motion, or in that agenda item, it designates the 4 lots that we're talking about. Does item 3, since we're actually making a motion on it and then declaring an emergency on that item, should it also include the 4?
I'll defer to council, but I believe that under the rezoning, that we do not necessarily have to identify the exact location, but this is an ordinance in item 4.
Right.
So you do have to specifically identify those. Mike, do you have any?
It is, it's the same location, but what's happened is there's been a little bit of change in procedure with the council. In the past, I wasn't asked to prepare an ordinance for the rezoning of property until after the council had voted on it. And so in the course of things, what would happen is at one meeting, the council would vote on whether or not to rezone the property, come back later and visit the issue again as to whether or not to pass the ordinance. So that procedure's been changed slightly in that item number 3, the council would consider rezoning, and if they do rezone, then they would consider the ordinance. The ordinance then, along with the emergency clause, which follows, has to be passed by 4/5. But the property description generally for item 3 and specifically for item 4.
Gotcha. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
A little more efficient. That way I don't have to come.
Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Smith.
Yes.
Alberts.
Yes.
Maxey.
Yes.
Bradway.
Yes.
Next item is item 4, and that's consider approving ordinance number 1273, an ordinance amending ordinance number 657, Appendix A of the Code of the City of Yukon, Oklahoma, by providing the zoning designation for part of lots 24, 25, 26, 27, Block 1 of Harris Acres addition to the City of Yukon, Oklahoma, to be changed from C5 Automotive Commercial to C3 Restricted Commercial District and declaring an emergency. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Bradway.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Alberts.
Yes.
Maxey.
Yes.
Next
Move-
item,
Move the emergency?
do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Maxey.
Yes.
Alberts.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Bradway.
Yes.
Next item is 5, consider an expenditure of funds for the purchase of the Brazos Mobile Ticketing Solutions and Software Interface from Tyler Communication Technologies, and New World Systems in the amount not to exceed $63,987 to be paid from existing line of credit at Yukon National Bank and authorizing the execution of the software license agreement.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion?
Yes. Question.
Yes, sir.
I read this on the expenditure of funds, and are we only going to have one WAN? Is what I'm reading out of this, how many, we've got,
8.
we're going to have 8. We've
8.
got for every shift.
That's right.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you.
Other discussion? I have one question. We're paying from the existing line of credit at YNB, and that's the line of credit that has the extremely low interest, is that right?
2%.
2%. But I'm curious, this type of purchase, why aren't we making it from the funds that we accumulate from the tax, the safety tax that we voted on?
Actually, the capital purchases are not allowed.
Consider it a
Yes.
capital purchase, okay. Call the roll, please.
Alberts.
Yes.
Bradway.
Yes.
Maxey.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Next item would be item 6, consider making and submitting the application for the Healthy Communities Incentive Grant available from the Oklahoma Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Bradway.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Alberts.
Yes.
Maxey.
Yes.
Item 7 is the city manager's report, information only, a recap of the December 2011 sales tax use and collection.
You received in your departmental reports a synopsis of the sales tax collected in February, which was the December holiday season tax collections. In the regular sales tax fund, we actually showed an increase over the previous period of last year of 8.07%, which is significant. Also, that brought our cumulative sales tax increase over the previous year, cumulative to date, to 4.77%. Very good news. You can also tell from that report, if you haven't looked at it, that indeed the money that we will collect in March will reflect January sales tax collections, and it will be lower. You can see that from the trend lines. The idea, though, is to keep it above that little green dot. That's where we want to be, and keep growing the thing, because our trend lines from March collections through the end of the year tend to go up steadily, but nothing like what we see in the December timeframe. More importantly, I would call your attention to the use tax. Normally, we skip on by use tax when we talk about sales tax collections. Those are, generally speaking, taxes that we collect on catalog and internet sales. There are a few other items that can be where they pay us a use tax in lieu of sales tax, but those are not that often. I'm happy to report, I think, that this month's increase in use tax collections for December were up 441.21%. That brings our total increase year to date up to 86.34. That follows the November use tax collections, which were up 45.10%. Now, I think everybody should cheer right now. Yeah. And I will hasten to point out that we received, the day after we received this glorious news, a letter from the Tax Commission where they notified us that $288,900 and some odd dollars and change, just short of $289,000, was on one sale paid by one company. There is always a concern when that occurs. It happened a few years ago, not particularly with one company on one sale, but if you'll remember, the city several years ago had to come up with just short of $800,000 and be ready to pay that back. So what I have instructed City Treasurer Michael Momfelt to do is to reserve a like amount in restricted funds, and those monies cannot be budgeted, and they have to be restricted for 3 years. That's how long the company has to make claim against that money if it was indeed paid in error. I note with interest that while we have to reserve it in restricted funds unbudgeted for 3 years, we have to pay it back in 15 days. So to make sure that we are covered and that we have the money set aside, we are in a position that we can reserve those monies aside. We will not budget those monies for 3 years, and if you take off that much money, we're still far, far ahead of where we were last year in use tax collections. With that, Mayor, that ends my report.
Thank you, sir. Next item would be item 8, and that'd be new business.
We do have an item of new business, Mayor, this evening. You have in front of you at your desk, we found out, actually we knew about the problem late last week, late Friday afternoon as a matter of fact, and then we finally got the numbers this morning. And basically what has happened is that we have a broken sewer line over on Royal at 748 Royal. It's in a open ditch that's 12 foot deep, and it is covered by, it's broken, and it has laying on top of it a storm sewer line as well. So we are proposing to replace 328 linear feet of that sewer line. We're not replacing the line. What we propose to do is to line the pipe, a process called bursting. And it's a trenchless sewer line replacement system. The cost of that project, which really and truly could fall under an emergency because it's an open sewer line, and that would be $32,724. We, in our budget that was approved last year, we set aside for sanitary sewer bursting $87,000. We currently have spent $8,390 out of that account, leaving us with a budgeted balance of $78,610. So plenty, ample funds to do what needs to be done, and it is my recommendation that we authorize the expenditure of funds and repair the sewer line.
Yes, sir. I'd entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I do have one question. If we approve this on lining that pipe as opposed to replacing the pipe, what type of a lifespan should we expect?
Matt?
It's a poly pipe that's put in, so it's a 50-year pipe. They pull a poly pipe, it's unseen poly pipe.
And will this 12-foot ditch then be covered up?
Well, it's not, we only have a hole right now where from the pictures that you see, and we also have additional pictures that we could show you. The pipe is broken for the entire 300 and some odd feet. And there are holes throughout it caused by roots invading the line. And so we only have one hole. We will actually only have to dig one more hole at the other, or at each service entrance, don't we? But these are just holes. They are not a trench all the way through.
Okay, I guess I'm misunderstanding where it says 748 roll with an open ditch, 12-foot
It
ditch.
should be a hole.
Okay.
It's
I
a
gotcha.
backhoe.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Other discussion? Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Alberts.
Yes.
Bradway.
Yes.
Maxey.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Next item is item 9, that'll be council discussion. Mr. Maxey.
I don't have anything this evening, thank you.
Mr. Smith.
You bet. Just two things on our Healthy Communities Incentive Grant. I don't know who came up with the two projects, but kudos to them. I think they're both going to be great assets between Parkland and Shedeck, I guess it was. And the other thing is I want to give appreciation, thanks, and respect to my fellow councilmen for sharing the ideas that we have over the last couple of months regarding our code of ethics. A lot of respect and appreciation, as I had mentioned. And I know I want to publicly say, for those of you that don't know me, I can come across as hard-headed, maybe a little abrasive at times. In saying that, I liken a lot of things that happen, experiences in my life, to music and movies. And for those of you who may or may not have seen the movie Jerry Maguire, which is a very entertaining show, stars Tom Cruise and Cuba Gooding Jr. There's a scene in that movie where Cuba Gooding Jr. had just finished showering after his practice, and they're in the dressing room, and Tom Cruise has gotten somewhat agitated because of his client's behavior, and arms were flailing and voices were raising, at least on Tom Cruise's character's part. And Cuba Gooding Jr. had a line in there that just kind of sticks with me a little bit. He says, that's the difference between you and I. You think we're fighting, and I think we're finally talking. And I want you guys to know that there's no ill intent in my drive to get this code of ethics passed. I haven't wavered on my desire to get that done, and I'm sure that you guys, based on my experience, you've been very positive and receptive to it, and I look forward to us getting our final discussion out of the way in the very near future and getting that on the agenda and voted for. And that being said, again, thanks to my fellow councilmen for participating in the discussions.
Anything else?
That's it.
Mr. Bradway.
Thank you, John. Of course, my concern is we've been working on the Highway 4 project for a long time. That's been a project near and dear to me as long as I've been on this council, and I've done everything I can to get it advanced. I know the rest of the council members have done the same thing. This is February of 12. We've just about paid all of our preliminary money that we had to pay out for preliminary engineering. We've got that done. Now, it's January 2013, they're talking that it'll go out for bid. Is that right?
Third quarter of 2013.
Third quarter of
Late
2013.
2013. About 2 months ago, we had our plan in hand meeting with ODOT where they went over the right-of-way plans. So now we're in the process of submitting the right-of-way documents for their approval. And then in the next few months, the city of Yukon will begin the acquisition of the right-of-way.
Okay, but that's
And then
third.
later this year, we'll start relocating utilities, and into 2013, we'll be relocating utilities.
I'm sorry, Robbie, relocating what
The utilities,
this year?
no, 2013. This year, we need to acquire the right-of-way.
Okay, right away in 2012.
And then in the beginning of 2013, we will start the utility relocation process
Okay,
so that we can let the project in late 2013.
late. We make a note. Okay, and then 2014 is the actual construction date.
It was, the last I heard, I mean, I'm going off memory, but I thought the let date for Yukon was January of 2014, which would start construction that spring, March or April.
And Secretary Ridley indicated to me that he anticipated bid letting in the third quarter was as close as he would get to it, with construction to begin in the first quarter of 2014.
Yeah. Well, these, we're losing ground the dates originally.
I'd have to go back and schedule, but as the project got moved forward into the design process, then I know they sat down and set the construction schedule, which is what we're telling you today. So I don't believe there's ever been a delay in the start of the project. But I can go back and
Okay.
double check on that.
Yeah, would you, Robbie? I'd appreciate that,
Yes,
because
I
I'm, you know, really, this is an extremely important project for Yukon, and we're already out a lot of money on it. And we're gonna have to pay a bunch more. I mean, we just started paying, for this project, and, when it's, you know, 7.98 miles, and it's got a bridge in it that's 1,002 feet long, it's gonna be expensive.
Actually, that bridge has gotten increased from 1,002 feet to over 1,500 feet
Wonderful.
in the design process.
Okay. I stand corrected. It's 1,500-foot bridge, which will be even more expensive. The bridge will probably cost more than the project.
That's right.
The rest of the project. That's what we're looking at. And that's going to be a lot of money. Now, you know, I won't be here in 2014, but we'll still have a city council, and we'll still have to pay for it. And we're going to have to come up with the money. If we don't come up with the money, you know,
The state is participating in the cost of the construction.
we still have to come up with our share, Robbie. You know? I mean, it's going to be a lot of money.
We're working on that.
I know, but it's going to be a lot of money. And we got to have it all together at the same time so that it won't be anything later than 2014. That's still better than 2 years. Okay? That's it for tonight. We'll talk about it again, I'm sure. Thank you very much. If you get those figures for me, Robbie, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Breadway. A couple things I have tonight. One, it seems like spring, even though it's in February, and I see a lot of people out exercising and running. I want to encourage that. That's near and dear to my heart. We are applying for grants. This community is very active, and I want us to continue to be active. But one thing that I notice when I go out and I run is our streets are filthy. Our curbs are full of rocks and other things that are laying around. And we had a street sweeper at one time. Is it gone?
It's gone. Actually, it's not totally gone. It's just doesn't work. It's like a boat anchor sitting in a parking lot. But we do have budgeted this year, thanks to the help of Stormwater. We have budgeted to purchase a new street sweeper for that very purpose. The reason that it qualifies for that, as Mitch tells me, is because as we sweep up all of the debris that enters on our curbs and through our storm sewer, we keep all of it out of the storm sewer system, and that's how Stormwater gets to help us pay for that.
Well, that was part of my question is I know several years ago we had a lengthy discussion about how we were supposed to watch fertilizer and grass clippings, but I know Mr. Breadway, he walks and he makes a pretty good living picking up nickels, dimes, quarters, dollars, and things like that. But there are a lot of rocks and pieces of metal and things that are laying around unless you actually get out and walk when you drive right by them. If you drive down Holly from here back toward Vandemet, that street is just, it's full of, there's pine needles and there's just all sorts of debris. And I know that, Grayson, you've made a real effort. You're going to change our fleet. I'm sad to know that there's an old Chevy pickup that's been around since I've been in high school that is probably going to be sold and leave our community, but we're going to have a better image. And I think that part of that image is also just the streets that we drive on. So, while I was out running the other day, and you guys, I know, get tired of hearing that, but I'm going to talk about it until everybody's healthy. But I was out running the other day, and I just thought, why can't we have a clean street day or something? And so I would like staff and maybe us to talk about what we could do. I mean, if you just swept the street in front of your own house, you kids that are here, that'd be a great community service project for you guys to put that type of initiative together and present it to the city council and then involve the whole community in that. Go tell Mr. Andrews that's a great idea and that you all are motivated to do that. One of you volunteer to be the chairman? Chairman? Okay. Yes, sir. And what's your name? Blake. Do you have a last name, Blake? Blake Vance will be the chairman of that, and you'll come back, report back to us on that, right? All right. So I look forward to that, really. I think that that's important that
Doug's
we
got your name down.
that we work on that. So I'll follow up. Help me remember, Doug, okay?
I'll provide my address, too, if you need a place to start.
There's a lot of streets. But if the whole community just one day would sweep out in front of their house, I mean, it would make a huge difference. And there is a lot of gunk that's out there. So anyway, the other thing, and this is probably not a popular thing, but again, I'm always concerned about the safety of the community, and I see so many people run red lights and so many close calls, and I'm working right now with a client that is from Yukon that I went to high school with that was hit out here by Garth Brooks and the interstate and flipped her over, and she slid down the highway where someone came through a red light. Is it feasible? I know that we have this new electronic device for our ticketing. Is it feasible to look about some electronic surveillance in our major intersections? I know that's not popular, that's an idea of Big Brother, but I mean, it's a safety issue at some of these intersections that we have.
Actually, we have talked about enhancing our intersections in that regard because it's not just red lights, it's stop signs.
Yes.
People are viewing those as suggestions rather than rules of the road. Yeah. I would like for a few of the higher court cases that are being tried right now to be concluded so that we have a better grasp of how the courts are going to view that type of surveillance before we expend the money to go out and do it. And those are in the court system right now.
Okay. Well, and I'm not a big advocate of ticketing the community. I did a little research and met a trooper on the turnpike, and that little new electronic deal works really well. Tammy, I'll be turning that receipt into you for my research this week. But I think that it's important from a safety standpoint that maybe you could talk with Chief Corn and we could issue some warnings. And Conrad, I mean, I think that we need to be more careful. When you sit and listen to, my classmate tell me how this altered her life, and it really affected her, and it was just because someone was careless. And I mean, we need to pay attention. I mean, just a minute, I know there's texting issues and all that stuff, but just take the time. It doesn't mean straight through on the pavement. It really means stop. So, but if we could do something to do that and maybe follow up and talk with Chief Corn or something.
Be happy to.
That's all I have this evening. Anyone else? With nothing else before the council, we stand adjourned.